The big news this week is coming out of Kolkata, where KKR, last year's champions, have done something slightly unexpected and made Ajinkya Rahane the captain. What's your kind of take on this whole situation?
Yeah, man, I was really surprised by this news. I saw Dan, good friend of the show, post it on Twitter yesterday, and my response was, I smell trouble. Look, I mean, I think when KKR went big for Venkatesh Iyer at the auction, people presumed that they were eyeing him up as a potential captain, given that Shreyas had gone. Rahane, it's a bold call, right? He's almost 37. He had one really good season for CSK a couple of years ago, 2023 in the IPL. He struck at 172. But that aside, there are a lot of seasons. He's played a lot of IPL cricket. I think he's played something like 14, 15 seasons, and a lot of those he's struck under 130. He had a really good Syed Mushtaq Ali trophy just before the new year. But for me, this looks like a big, big risk. You've got a guy who is closer to 40 than he is to 30, a guy who has often been a suboptimal striker. He has shown at least a desire to change that, and certainly a capacity, although last year he kind of reverted to type. He was back to striking at 123 with a high score of 45. So to me, this looks like something which could cause KKR problems. I always think you want your captain in the IPL to be the first name on your team sheet, pretty much. What happens if Rahane hits a bad run of form like he did last year, and suddenly the conversation comes, is he in KKR's best 11? I remember it happening with Aidan Markram at Sunrisers, and to me, that's something that can really disrupt a team. So I'm surprised. It's not the way I would have gone, but let's see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre decision, because I think Rahane probably does have a role to play in an IPL side, but it's basically it feels like just such a he's now got to be a guaranteed pick, right? So they're taking one of their major decisions away from themselves, and they're going to kind of back a batter. I don't know whether last year when they won it, Gautam Gambhir, who went on to get the India job, became such a big part of the kind of narrative around them. I wonder if they're kind of thinking maybe that in the worst case, if they do have to drop him, he can kind of captain from the bench.
Yeah, I guess so.
If such things are.
And I mean, and we'll go into it. They don't have a huge amount, I think, of backup domestic batting. So maybe they have penciled him in or penned him in as a 14-game player, regardless of whether he captains or not. And they think that experience that he brings, I don't think Venkatesh has a huge amount of captaincy experience. So maybe they felt that he was really the only option, because I don't think, I mean, if you look through the overseas players, I think they'll probably go with Narayan, Quentin de Kock, Dre Russ, and one of Nortje or Spencer Johnson. I'll give you my 11 in a moment, Marky. They probably don't see any of those captains. So maybe, he was really the only option.
I'd love to see a Dre Ross captain side. Give us what your 11 is then. Let's just get straight into it. No messing about.
Okay, cool. So I've got Narayan and de Kock opening. I think there's a possibility they go Gurbaz over de Kock, but I would imagine they'll start with that pair up top. Then a middle order of Venkatesh Iyer, Ajinkya Rahane, Rinku Singh, Dre Russ, and Ramandeep Singh. And then the four bowlers, I would go Harshit Rana, Vaibhav Arora, one of Nortje or Spencer Johnson, Nortje if he's fit, Johnson if he's not, and Varun Chakravarti. And then with the 12th, adding a bit more batting muscle, Angrish Raghuvanshi, a name that I've been worried about saying all day.
But you got there, you did it. And I'm going to say you did a great job.
Thanks, man. Hopefully no one in India comes calling me out, as happened often when I was teaching in Sri Lanka and doing, the old register.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. That was probably a multiple hate crimes.
Yeah, it was a classroom of kids laughing the whole way through, but we live.
We live. They've got to kind of defend their crown. Do you think this team looks set to be able to do that?
I've got question marks about this team, Marky. The main one being that there's a couple of guys who are approaching uncle, if not granddad status. You've got Narain, who's almost 37. You've got Rahane, who's almost 37. And you've got Dreras, who's going to turn 37 during the tournament. They got amazing returns from Sunil Narain with the bat last year. Are those repeatable? I doubt it. Can Dreras keep being Dreras? I'm not sure. You've got to think that there's going to be a fall off at some stage. On the flip side, like that lower middle order of Rinku Singh, Dreras, Ramandeep, you've got to like it, right? You've got quality spin in the form of Chakravarti and Narain. I think last year those guys were two of the best spinners in the league, right? Yeah. Narain took 17 wickets going at under 7 and over. Varun took 21 going at about 8. So that's a really high-class partnership. Harshit Rana's been one of the breakout strike bowlers. I think there's something interesting here. They picked up Umran Malik on the cheap. So if they think that he can be that extreme pace middle overs guy, given the fact that Nortje's been injured and hasn't been quite on it for the past couple of years, Spencer Johnson, my jury's still out about him. He bowls good balls. He's a left armer, but he gives you up some freebies as well. So if they think they can get back the Umran Malik that we saw for Sunrisers in 2022 and slide him into the 11, then that opens up another overseas slot. So they could go with someone like they could go with Gurbaz and not have to use Narain as an opener. They could throw a Moeen Ali or a Rovman Powell into the mix. So that's interesting for me. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year, but I don't think they're going to be terrible either. It's so hard to tell right before the tournament starts, but I'm lukewarm on KKR.